Hi FlossTube friends, this is Ruth and welcome to this episode of Spectrum Farms Needleworks. I am so glad to share this time together with you stitching. Tonight's episode will only be on cross stitch, so I apologize to my quilters. I will get back to you in another video, hopefully soon, about quilting. There's just been a lot going on, but I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. So let's get started. In my last video, I had talked about that I had stitched Bloom Where You're Planted by Brenda Gervais, and this is the chart. And I had finished it in a pillow. Sorry, something on the front. Okay, and this was my finished pillow. And I had done an envelope fold on the back with some French General fabric. Well, I had said in my video that I was going to make one for my mom. So I stitched it again in a smaller version, and I put this fabric on the back. And I was supposed to send it to her for Mother's Day. And you can see, since I still have it, that didn't happen. And that was a month and a half ago. But when I was talking with Mom, and I asked her, which would she like to have? The bigger one. So I will be sending this to my mom, and I will be keeping the smaller one. But this will give you an idea of what the same chart can look like when done differently in different sizes. So that was Bloom Where You're Planted. And let me grab my notes real quick. Both of these, I'll pull up the small one. Both of these were stitched on 28 count mushroom Lugana. So this was Bloom Where You're Planted by Brenda Gervais. That was two different finishes. So what I'd also like to show you some of my finishes, but not fully finished. So one of them is this piece right here, and I haven't ironed it. Let me show you these stitches. I joined the EGA, the Embroiderers Guild of America, and I belong to the Lamplighters chapter, which is based in New Jersey. And we did several classes. Each night we did 3 different stitches. This is 12 different specialty stitches. And the original was finished into a needle book, but I haven't decided how I'm going to finish this yet. But I used DMC. There's 12 different stitches. So that was quite the learning process. This is what the original class piece looked like. This was from another EGA event. But I don't think I'm going to finish it like this. Originally I thought maybe a flat fold. Then I thought maybe I would list the different stitches, like stitch the name of the stitch over here because I've got plenty of fabric left. Stitch the names over here so I would know what they are. And then maybe make it into a tote bag for when I go to EGA meetings. I just haven't decided. But this was a great learning piece for me, and I really appreciate the ladies who taught the class. And that's that one. So I've also been looking through my whips, what I started in the last 2 years, which ones could be finished. So I pulled back out my Scissors My Rules by Heartstring Sampler. And this one was stitched on Lakeside Maritime White. I started it in March of 2024 and I finished it on June 21st. Now it's not fully finished yet, but this is my stitched piece. I stitched it using Sampler Threads Midnight. Okay, it doesn't look like the same floss, but it is. I've made it, originally I was going to frame it, and then I thought I would do a flat fold, but then I really liked making, last year for StitchCon, I made a scissor pillow. This pillow, I only put Pfeiffer in, but here's the pocket for the scissors. Here are the scissors that I'm going to put in it. Okay, kind of matches, oh, this is Larry. Hi, Larry. So it matches one of the scissors, like this one, on the fabric. I guess you can see that. Okay. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to make a scissor pocket pillow pincushion type thing, I needed a scissor fob. So today I quickly stitched up using this right here, using this one. I stitched the beginning of my scissor fob. So this will be my scissor fob, but I like making scissor fobs with cording. So in order to make the cording, I'm not going to use this. I like the longer floss, the longer strands that DMC provides. So I'm using DMC 3750, which you can see they're pretty close. They're really close. So this will be the cording that's going to go around the circumference of the pillow. And then it will be the cording for my accompanying scissor fob. That will be featured in another video once I have it fully finished. So once again, that was Heartstring Sampler, My Scissors, My Rule. Okay, that's my scissors, my rules. Oh, and one other thing I have when I make the cording to go around, I think I'm going to put this on the pillow, is I have a little tiny scissor charm that matches the scissor, that matches the fabric. Okay, so that was my scissors, my rules. Now, I'm going to show you my heartfelt tribute to Bumble Stitches. If you go to her FlossTube number 57, she showed the most amazing drum. And let me take, you're going to hear some crinkling. I'm going to take the chart out. And check out her video because she finished hers just slightly different than what I did. But I was so inspired by her drum that I had to make one too. So this is Heartstring Sampler. I belong to the Cross Stitch Nation, also called Cross Stitch Nation, but it says I belong to the Cross Stitch Nation. And here's my finished drum. So when you compare, that's a shadow, when you compare her drum to mine, she did not stitch what the bottom called for. That's on the chart, like I did. I stitched it exactly using the called for that the chart. I had to finagle some of this a little bit because my initials are not as wide as the designer's initials. So I had to make some adjustments in this bottom border. You can see. I love this so much. I got this pin off of Etsy, and then I got the ribbon, I think from Amazon, and I tied it in a 3-loop ribbon, in a 3-loop bow. And I haven't fully secured this yet because I haven't decided if this is going to stay here or if I'm going to move it somewhere else. I stitched my initial, and you'll see right here, I'm very transparent. I broke this. In fact, while I was stitching this, I broke 2 of these little wooden hoops. This one I was able to glue back together because I only had 1 left, and I only had 3 because a dear friend of mine gave these wooden hoops to me. I had found other hoops, but they were 2-inch, which I thought once I laid it out was too big, and this is a 1-inch. So I figured, well, you know what, it just, life happens, and it just makes it, gives it that little primitive touch. I used the called for floss, and I'm not very good finagling variegated thread yet. So even though this is all the same color, you'll see as I turn it, you know, parts of it are darker. The C is really dark, the S is dark, but you know what? I decided to leave it. I love this so much. I just absolutely love this drum. There's some fabric I put on the top. Now this rickrack was white, and I could not find rickrack the color that I wanted. So I tried tea dyeing it, and I wasn't really pleased with how the tea dyeing looked. I thought it just looked dirty, to be honest. So I took the tea bag and I blotted it in different places, and that helped. I didn't want it to look dirty. I just wanted it to look, you know, not stark white. This is Stitched on Be Stitch Me Sand Dollar, 32 count linen. I used the same fabric on the bottom, and I need to fix it. I was asked if I would display it at Floss and Flame in Dover, and I really want to, but I have to fix it first. And I may have to go get it. I may be right back and show you. But along this bottom, you can kind of see it right here. See how it's kind of caving in a little bit? I used Polyfill and I used crushed walnut shells. But the Polyfill I used, honestly, it was inferior. I had bought it at a local big box store. I have always used, as a quilter, I have always used Mountain Mist quilt batting. Warm and Natural is nice too, but I've always used Mountain Mist brand, which I could always find at Joann's. And I used the Mountain Mist Polyfill. Well, with Joann's being no longer, I couldn't get the Polyfill, the Mountain Mist brand that I wanted to use. Vonnie used it in her videos. I did follow her drum tutorial. And I'm gonna pause this and go get them because I want you to see the difference in the two types of Polyfill. Because I need to take out the inferior Polyfill and fill it in and restuff it with the better quality. And I'll show you the difference in just a minute. Because when I was attaching the bottom, because I stuffed it upside down, and when I was attaching the bottom, I tried my hardest to fully fill this with the Polyfill and with the crushed walnuts, and I just could not get it to the point that I wanted it. And I do think I need to take the bottom off and redo it because I'm afraid over time, see if I push on that, I'm afraid it could collapse, or as it's standing it could start leaning, and I don't want that. And I certainly don't want to, you know, have people see this finished drum when it's not top quality. So let me pause for just a second. I'm going to go get that Polyfill. Okay, so this is the bag that I got. Okay, it says the original Polyfill premium polyester fiber fill. Okay, now when I take this out to use it, you can't loft this. You'll see how thin it is, and when you try to loft it, it just, I hope you can see this, it just disintegrates. Okay, now let me show you the difference with fiberfill. So this, the Mountain Mist brand. So this is the Mountain Mist brand. I was able to find this on Amazon. Okay, it's the same thing. It's polyester fiberfill. I think you can kind of see that. It's a big bag. Let me show you the difference. So now this, when I pull it out of the bag, you can already see how much thicker it is compared to this. See the difference? This is like thicker. It feels like cotton. It doesn't disintegrate when you pull it apart. And when you're using it, you're supposed to loft it, which means you're supposed to fluff it. Okay? This you can manipulate into corners of pillows. You can get a nice smooth finish on a drum. It's just lovely. You can see the difference. So this is what's inside my drum. So I have to take, oh, sorry, dropped it. So I have to take the drum apart, take the bottom off, and use the Mountain Mist to refill it. For quality reasons, it needs to be done. On the bummer side of the scale, I'm really pleased with how I stitched the bottom. So I'm really bummed that I'm gonna have to take it off. And it is pretty solid in other areas. It's just this bottom, you can see it's squishy, and that concerns me. I'm honest, and I tell you when I make mistakes and what I do wrong, because you know we're all here to learn from each other. And I will say, I used the called for colors, but the called for colors, now I've got Polyfill floating everywhere. The called for colors do not look the same to me as they do in the photo. Here's an example. This one on the end. On the picture, her dress looks blue, but it comes across green in the called for floss. So keep that in mind, because if you're going to stitch this, keep in mind those colors, or stitch them in your own colors. If I was to stitch this again, I definitely would make this more diverse, because the cross stitch nation is just not all people that look the same. I mean, I know it. I would change hair color and skin color. And this is Lucy. Hello, Lucy. She is completely blind, but she can hear. And boy, does she have a super sniffer on her. No, 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 no. She's going to drool on my notes. Don't drool on my notes, Lucy. Okay. Cross Stitch Nation. I absolutely love this chart. I drum one more time. So this is my tribute to Bumble Stitchers. Nicola Bumble Stitches. Check out her FlossTube number 57. Here's how I finished and joined the rickrack on the back. So, oh, I just love this so much. I'm pretty proud of that. So those are my fully finishes. What I'm currently working on, other than finishing up my scissors, my rolls, is I am playing Stitcher. I think you can kind of see that even with the glare. You're going to hear the crinkling. So it's by Little House Needleworks Traveling Stitcher. And it was originally made into a portfolio. Here's what the chart looks like. I really like this. So here is my progress. I was working on it today and I did not take it out of the... So here's my... Sorry, the pillow's in the way. Here's my stitches. Now I made a mistake over here. There should have been, right here, there should have been 11 and I only stitched 10. And where that messed me up was where the leaves landed. So instead of taking it all out, I added an extra stitch to the branch here, to the branch here, and then I adjusted the distance. There should be one space here, but there's two. I adjusted the distance between the leaves so that I wouldn't have to adjust anything else. But this is a really fun stitch. And I think what I'm going to do is, originally I thought I'll make a tote bag, because what my goal is to have a tote bag for my EGA stitching, a tote bag for my retreat stitching, because right now I'm carrying it around in a tote bag that I made to carry a quilt in, and I want to stop carrying that one, even though it's got a cross stitch piece on the front. So I thought, well, I'll make this into a tote bag because I really like what it says. It says, wherever I go, whatever I do, I'm never alone, my stitching comes too. And I just love that. And I thought this needle piece right here would make a really nice scissor fob. So, but then I got to thinking, I'm like, well, if my stitching really comes too, maybe I'll make it into a project bag. And then I thought, no, maybe I would make it into a portfolio like it was originally called for. I've never made a project portfolio, and I found Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch has a really good tutorial on one that she made. I might make it into a portfolio and then just swap out whatever I'm stitching. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? Do you think I should make it into a portfolio like the original, a project bag, or a tote bag? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll show it to you one more time. So here's where I'm at, and I'm using the called for. I think my linen's a little crooked inside the Q-snap. Let me show you what I'm planning on working on once I finish. I am going through my notebooks like I've showed you before. This is what I use by It's So Emma. I'm going back through looking at the ones, the whoops that I have in progress, pulling out the ones that just, they need to be finished or devote some time to them. So I'm trying to clean up some of my whips while I'm also still starting new pieces. So I jumped down the rabbit hole, the big Teresa Kogut Patreon rabbit hole. I know several people who are members of her Patreon, and they absolutely just love everything that she offers. So there was a chart that I wanted to stitch and be a member of her Patreon. So I'm like, well, I'll join the Patreon, I'll check it out for myself, and I'll buy the chart. Wow, I have bought several charts, and I am really enjoying her Patreon. She really offers a lot. So I joined Tier 4, but this is called Folk Floral. You may have seen some people have finished it, and they've posted photos on Facebook, but it's from the Patreon January 2025 ornament. And this is what it looks like. It's pretty much all DMC with the exception of Gingerbread Classic Colorworks, but you could substitute DMC for it. And Weeks Dye Works Cayenne or DMC 355. The rest is DMC. But I forgot to pick up, while I was out today, I forgot to pick up the Classic Colorworks Gingerbread. So I need to see if I have the DMC. But let me show you that again. So the only way you can get this right now is if you're a member of Teresa Kogut's Patreon. And this is the PDF that I downloaded. So I'm excited to get this started. Now that I have all the floss, I have to decide on the linen that I'm going to stitch it on. And I have it in a Teresa Kogut fabric bag. This was made by Dot Goose. So that is in my list of things to work on. What I also have in my list of things to work on is a dear friend recently passed away, and I won't go into details about that because it was extremely recent. But while I was at Floss and Flame today, I saw Tiny Modernist, and my sweet friend loved crabs. She has Maryland, the state of Maryland ancestry and family history. So I think what I might do is stitch this in honor of her and change this to a blue crab. I'll have to swap out the blue fish. Let me get closer. I'll have to swap out the blue fish, make them different colors if I'm going to make the crab blue. And then I'll probably put her initials on it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I haven't bought any floss or fabric for this yet. So we'll see. But it's a small chart. It's the stitch count is 66 high by 66 wide. Without the border. Well, 60 by 60 without the border, 66 by 66 with the border. And it calls for DMC or anchor, so I'll probably use DMC. Isn't that just precious? That is so sweet. And I think she would be touched by that. Another thing I'm going to be working on is my dear sweet friend Caitlin. You can go to her FlossTube, Stitch, Read, Repeat. She, so kind and so thoughtful, sent me a Blackbird design chart in the mail. So delightful delivery, definitely happy mail. But she had found this. Look guys, she found it for $1. They are out there in the wild. So, but what I think I'm going to do is change the colors. The only thing I've decided on so far is this heart right here. I think I'm going to do in Manor Red. So I'm going to take my time and figure out my floss changes. And when I get that put together, I'll show you that in another video. So I don't have the linen figured out yet either. It's going to depend on what flosses I go to. So that was Pledge of Affections, Tender Heart Series by Blackbird Designs. So thank you, my sweet, sweet friend, for sending such a wonderful gift in the mail. And I'll tell you, Caitlin's been doing some model stitching for Floss and Flame in Dover. I feel like all I'm saying is Floss and Flame today, but it's because I was just there. I did travel this month to 2 other locations, and I'll tell you about those real quick. But anyway, Caitlin has been doing some model stitching, and I was graciously asked to do finishing on a piece. And I will slide in a photo here that shows you how I finished the daffodils piece using Vanna's got a video on how to do ruching. I've done ruching on a sewing machine, but this was ruching by hand. So I did a ruching and beaded finish with green velvet on the back, and I'll post a photo here, a couple photos so you can see how I finished that. But if you're in the Dover area, stop in at Floss and Flame and check out my finished piece in person. Something else I planned on stitching, I know everyone, or quite a few FlossTubers have been showing their patriotic stitching. This chart I know I bought last year at StitchCon, and it's Sweet Wings Studio Freebird. These little birds are so stinking cute. So I'm looking forward to working on those. I have the fabric that I think I'm going to stitch it on, which is 28 count Whisper Lugana, and it looks like this. Oh, and there's a hair on it. It almost looks like, no, it's darker. Okay, so here's the mushroom Lugana. Here's the whisper. That'll give you some difference to see. So I will be stitching it on that. And that was Sweet Wing Studio Freebirds. They're so cute. And another chart I think I'm going to start on is Long May She Wave, a flag sewing box by Blackbird Designs. Blackbird's my absolute favorite. But what I think I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to darken the colors. I would like this blue to be a darker blue. Maybe use Freedom. That's a nice dark blue. And I haven't decided on the red, but I'm really partial to Manor Red. So I may darken those. And I don't know how I'm going to finish it yet, so I don't know if I'm going to use, you know, gold cording. This is what the finished piece looked like. You can see it a little bit better here. So I don't know if I'll do it on a box, but this is in my plans to start. Another one that I have a plan to start is, surprise, another Blackbird design. It's Hats Off to Uncle Sam, and it's this box right here. I'm not going to make the wooden hat. There's probably a better close-up of it. But what I think I'm going to do is use lighter fabric. I want to be able to see the stitching better. So when I make this, I will probably use lighter fabric. And then here's how they put it together. Like they give you the instructions on how to do the wooden hat, and then you can take the hat apart and it sits inside there. I'm not going to do that, but I do want to stitch this. Might make it into a drum pincushion. I don't know yet. Let me check my notes. I knew this was going to be a brief video. Oh, so let me tell you. I visited Stitch New England in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, and I'll insert some photos here. The owner's name is Pamela. She was absolutely a delight to meet, and I forgot to bring her business card with me, but I can put her information in the show notes. So that was Stitch New England in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Lovely store. And she does like a stitching get-together every Saturday. So check her out if you're in the area. And I also visited Dying to Stitch in Virginia Beach. My husband and I drove down to visit our son, who's serving in the Navy. So it was a lovely visit, but I had a little bit of downtime, so there was some floss I was looking for. I had been to Dying to Stitch last year, and it wasn't the best experience, but I decided to give them another opportunity, and it was much better this time. So it's nice to know that there's a store in the area. Now, one store that's down that way in Williamsburg that I have not visited yet, that I hope to, it's Liberty. I'll put the name in the show notes. I don't know, Liberty Stitchworks, Needleworks. You might know the name, but if you do, put it in the comments. I see them all the time on Facebook, and they have different stitching events, and somebody else I know is affiliated with the store. So it would be nice to go down there and check out their store. And I think I'm saying a lot tonight. I apologize. I'm tired. My daughter was in a car accident Wednesday. We had a loss of a dear friend on Thursday. But, you know, the way to make a stitcher feel better is to just be with other stitchers. So with that, I will say goodnight. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.